Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Environment Planning Committee. I declare the meeting open at 7:01 p.m. Acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters and sky in the Georgia River area. I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. Apologies, there are no apologies, and there were no requests to attend the meeting via audio visual link. Notice of live streaming of committee meeting. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute taking purposes and is also being broadcast live to the public on Council's website in accordance with Section 5 Council's Code of Meeting Practice. The recording will be made available on Council's website. Code of Meeting Practice. The order of business is as shown in the agenda, which has been made available. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is open. Doors to the meeting room are to be left open unless the meeting moves into a closed confidential session, according to Section 14 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Only if the meeting moves into a closed confidential session will the public broadcasting of the meeting be suspended. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of Council. Mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. Disclosure of interest. I've got two disclosures here. Firstly, myself on ENV 01825 review of the draft bushfire prone land map 2025 for the reason that I have an interest in the land and I will partake in any deliberations on this matter and will remain in the meeting, participate in the consideration and voting on this item. Councillor Matthew Allison, he's declared, mine was a special disclosure. Councillor Allison has declared a non-significant non-pecuniary interest on ENV 01825 review of the draft bushfire prone land map 2025. Councillor Allison's place of residence situated in a bushfire zone on the eastern edge of Oakley Park, Oakley. Councillor Allison will partake in any deliberations on this matter and will remain in the meeting and participate in the consideration and voting on this item. We now move to the public forum. We have 6 registered speakers for tonight's meeting. Yes, sorry. The first speaker is Mr. Brett Connell, and it's a written submission read by the staff on ENV 02025, Merriman Reserve Plan and Management and Master Plan. Go ahead, please.
Are the residents of Merriman Street and Inala Avenue aware that Georges River Council do not have a validated overflow or flood study for the area of Blakehurst which the above proposal falls under? The response to my submission that the plan of management does not intend to increase any building footprints or make any significant changes to the current layout that would be seen as a risk to flood. How does one make that assumption without an endorsed flood study? The placing of sandstone blocks and the building of a new maintenance amenities block seems like a significant change, and with the reference of the Donnelly Park Plan of Management, the planting of trees near major stormwater infrastructure is not the best match, as drains become blocked and will require more maintenance for the council. The attached photo is of the council's previous study, not endorsed, of the area that places the above works in an overland flow path. There are policies in place about changing the course of natural overflow that could be a safety risk to the neighbours of the above master plan.
Okay, thank you for that. The next speaker is Ms. Lisa Bella Esposito, and she's here in person, and it's on ENV 01925 planning proposal for Gatwood determination 193 to 199 Rocky Point Road and 66 to 68 Ramsgate Road and 2 to 4 Toga Road, Ramsgate. Go ahead, please, Ms. Esposito.
Thank you, Chair and councillors. Thanks for the opportunity to address you regarding this planning proposal. My name is Lisa Bella Esposito and I'm a town planning consultant of over 30 years experience and I'll be presenting against the planning proposal on behalf of my client, Superbarn Supermarkets. I confirm I've read the consultant planner's assessment report, and I strongly concur with the recommendation that the planning proposal should not proceed to gateway determination. There are two key reasons it should not proceed: unacceptable traffic and parking impacts of the proposed development and the inability of the planning proposal to demonstrate site-specific merit on these grounds. And this, in effect, casts significant doubt over the suitability of increasing land uses on this site, in particular with the inclusion of a full-line supermarket and the creation of a new centre. These outstanding traffic and parking matters continue to reiterate that the site is not acceptable and unsuitable to support the significant retail floor space. Since the panel meeting in early December 2024, the applicant has been negotiating with council's engineers and Transport for New South Wales regarding these outstanding traffic matters. And in over 6 months, there's been little progress in resolving the significant traffic impacts of the proposal. Superbarn Supermarkets in this time commissioned an independent road safety audit as well as a gap survey analysis, and these documents were presented to you today and also presented to council in April. And what this identifies is the significant safety risks that the proposal can I have extra time?
Yeah.
Oh, so thank you. The unacceptable road safety risks associated with the proposal, which continue to remain to this day unresolved through my reading of the report. The proposed level of service of the planning proposal will be E at the intersection of Targo Road, and this is unacceptable when council, I understand, usually will accept no worse than D. It's unclear from the applicant whether we are at a level of service of E or F, and we should have that clarified this evening. Nonetheless, there's a serious shortfall. As you were aware, this planning proposal has been going on for a number of years and went to the Sydney South Planning Panel, and at that time in 2022 was deemed to be inadequate and unsuitable for the site. Just to conclude, on this basis, we respectfully request that this committee provide a clear position of no to this planning proposal so there is a transparent outcome for the community, Bayside Council, local government area, and all the surrounding businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mr. Matt Hine, and he's made a written submission which will be read by the staff. And that's on the NV01925, plan proposed for gateway determination, 193 to 199 Rocky Point Road, and 66 to 68 Ramsgate Road, and 2 to 4 Targo Road, Ramsgate. Yeah.
I would like to make a submission to the council in support of the refusal to amend the Georges River LEP 2021 as requested in PP 2024-001. My family and I are residents of 16 Targo Road, Beverley Park, and have been active members of the Georges River and Ramsgate community for many years. We wish to outline our concerns regarding this development and the reasons for our concerns. Targo Road is a residential street that connects Ramsgate Road and Rocky Point Road and contains approximately 20 freestanding homes and the Beverley Park Golf Course. The current traffic levels on Targo Road are consistent with its character as a residential street. Most vehicles using the road are cars and light vehicles accessing nearby homes, with only minimal through traffic connecting Ramsgate Road to Rocky Point Road. According to traffic analysis, the volume is approximately 50 vehicles per hour. If the proposed development proceeds, traffic volumes on Targo Road are expected to rise dramatically, with projections indicating an additional 200 to 300 vehicles per hour. This increase would result from changes to traffic signals and the need for access to the new development. Such a substantial increase would fundamentally alter the nature of Targo Road, turning it from a quiet residential street into a significantly busier thoroughfare. This would lead to elevated noise levels and pose increased safety risks for residents, particularly when entering or exiting driveways. an issue that is already of concern due to the speed at which some vehicles currently travel. The additional traffic will also heighten the danger to pedestrians and children who regularly walk, cycle or play in the street. Targo Road currently provides essential on-street parking for its residents. Since the development at 1 Targo Road, parking availability has noticeably declined, with residents and visitors of the apartment complex regularly using the street for overflow parking. As a result, local residents are often forced to park on neighbouring streets. This increased pressure has also led to vehicles occasionally blocking driveways, causing further inconvenience. The proposed development is expected to significantly worsen this situation. Not only will there be additional overflow parking from the new residential dwellings, but the inclusion of commercial facilities will attract further demand from non-residents. Given the limited parking available in the surrounding Ramsgate area, visitors and residents will likely default to parking in Targo Road. This will place even greater strain on already limited parking resources, severely affecting current residents' ability to find on-street parking near their homes. In conclusion, I reiterate that the impact of this development and the proposed GRC LEP changes will create a significant impact and loss of amenity to all residents of Targo Road, which will only increase with time. We as residents do not support the development proposal or the changes to the LEP.
Thanks, Mr. McKinley. The next speaker is also written submission. Is Mr. Peter Stubbs on ENV 0925 planning proposal for gateway determination 193 to 199 Rocky Point Road, 60 to 68 Ramsgate Road, and 2 to 4 Targo Road, Ramsgate. If you could read that submission, please, Ms. McKinley.
I'm a resident of Targo Road. I'm speaking in support of the council staff recommendation to refuse this planning proposal. Firstly, I'd like to thank council officers for recognising the serious concerns of local residents and recommending refusal of what I believe is an overdevelopment of a highly prominent site in Ramsgate. My property sits on the corner of Targo Road and Burgess Street, and I'm deeply concerned about the predicted increase in traffic volumes. The report indicates that if this proposal proceeds, Targo Road could see up to 200 to 300 vehicles per hour during peak times, a massive jump from the current volume of around 50 vehicles. That level of traffic is simply not suitable for what is a quiet residential street. Installing traffic lights at both ends of Targo Road will not just impact Targo Road, it will affect the broader local road network across Beverley Park, Ramsgate, and even down to the Sans Souci Peninsula. These changes risk turning Targo Road into a rat run, especially if it turns right from Targo Road into Ramsgate Road up Midget, something not currently allowed at this intersection. I want to make it clear I'm not against good development and I do support the need for more housing, but this proposal goes too far and comes at too high a cost to the local community. Importantly, this proposal also threatens the delivery of the planned rear laneway between Targo Road and Ramsgate Road as outlined in Council's own development control plan. That laneway is intended to service the shops along Rocky Point Road and improve traffic flow, yet this proposal risks blocking its future delivery. In summary, I urge committee members to support the recommendation to refuse this planning proposal. It is not the right outcome for Ramsgate, and it is certainly not the right outcome for Targo Road residents.
Thanks, Ms. McKinley. The next speaker is Mr. Nicholas Steele. He's going to speak in person on ENV 01925, again, for planning proposal for gateway determination 193 to 199 Rocky Point Road, 60 to 68 Ramsgate Road, and 2 to 4 Targo Road, Ramsgate. Go ahead, please, Mr. Steele.
Good evening, Chair, councillors and planning team. I'm Nicholas Steele. I'm the development manager responsible for this project. Having worked on this project for over the last 4 years, this marks our second planning proposal for the site. This updated submission incorporates substantial changes directly addressing the concerns raised by council and the community with our initial proposal. Additionally, during the last 18 months since lodgement, we have made further changes to ensure we gain the support of council, the local planning panel, and external planners guide. All parties have acknowledged now that the proposal has site-specific and strategic merit, subject to the resolution of a series of traffic issues, which we believe we have now resolved. This proposal isn't just about a single site. It's about unlocking the broader benefits for the community. This proposal encompasses land holdings over 14 lots to create a unique development opportunity. We understand the council had concerns, and I want to be very explicit. We have thoroughly addressed them and we believe resolved every single one of them. We have worked diligently with council and Transport for New South Wales to refine our proposal, and the result is a project that is not only robust, but is responsive to the feedback. At the time Council prepared the report that's before you tonight, the project was determined to have demonstrated strategic and site-specific merit on all matters other than 3 traffic issues. These 3 traffic issues outlined by Council are the reason the proposal has been recommended for refusal, we believe have now been resolved. The resolution of these issues is that we've managed to reduce the lost cars on Rocky Point Road to the western Georges River side to 0. We've obtained the landowner's consent required to allow the new lights on Rocky Point and Targo Road. And we've also confirmed the traffic flows of Targo Road will perform within the Transport for New South Wales guidelines of a local road. These traffic outcomes are supported by a peer review undertaken by Josh Milston from J&Tree Traffic Consulting, which has been provided to Council. Tim Rogers, who has undertaken the traffic modelling, will provide further information on the resolution of these issues. At a high level, this project will deliver 140 new homes, parking for 245 residential cars and 190 retail spaces, 130 FTE ongoing jobs, and social and economic benefit to the Ramsgate Town Centre. Whilst we have submitted a rezoning review, this has not been formally lodged. As communicated to Council and demonstrated over the past 18 months, our strong preference is to resolve this application with Council rather than the alternative of a DPI rezoning review. We are confident that if allowed to progress to the exhibition stage, the project will receive strong community support due to the significant feedback we've received to date. To date, the PP has received overwhelming support from other local businesses, including the Business Chamber South, who have stated, "We believe this proposed development is a significant opportunity for the economic and social enhancement of our community."
Excuse me, Mr. Steele, could you wind up, please, because we're over time? Thank you. The next speaker is Mr. Tim Rogers, speaking on EMV 01925, planning proposal for gateway determination 193, 199 Rocky Point Road, 1668 Ramsgate Road, and 2 to 4 Targo Road, Ramsgate. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, panel members and planning staff for the opportunity to speak tonight. As my colleague Nick Steele said, I'm here to talk about some of the traffic matters that have been raised by Council, those 3 specific ones that have been given for reasons for refusal, being the unresolved issues with the driveways on the eastern side of Rocky Point Road opposite the intersection of Targo Road, where the proposed traffic signals are proposed, the loss of parking on the western side of Rocky Point Road in the Georges River Council area, and the unacceptable impacts on additional traffic on Targo Road. With respect to the first issue, I'm sure the Council are aware of the long term those driveways on the eastern side of Rocky Point Road will go as part of the planning scheme for the Bayside Council area. As the laneway on the eastern side of Rocky Point Road is developed, those access to those properties will be developed and the planning controls in place for that to occur. The issue that Transport have, and that's the only outstanding transport issue with this development, is the provision of right turns at the intersection of Targo Road, Rocky Point Road and those driveways, and they don't want right turns in and out of those driveways with traffic signals there. Woolworths have been able to consult with the landowner opposite Targo Road and obtain the consent to remove those right turns as part of those traffic signals. So that therefore resolves the only outstanding issue that Transport had with the planning proposal. As Council staff have acknowledged, and the planning report acknowledges, there's been extensive and thorough assessment of the traffic impacts of this development in consultation with Transport and Council. While there are still these 3 issues that hadn't been resolved at the time of the writing the report, we believe they have now been resolved. The second issue is the impact of loss of parking. As we had said through the whole process, any potential loss of parking on the Georges River Council side of Rocky Point Road would be replaced within the development. When we became aware that these 12 spaces on the western side were still a significant issue for Council, we did further work to identify whether these spaces could be reinstated or at least replaced. And the further modelling we have undertaken and presented to Council shows that this can be achieved, so there's no net loss of parking on the western side of Rocky Point Road. The last point relates to the impact of traffic on additional traffic on Targo Road. Yes, there will be an increase. The numbers increase from about 50 to 80 to about 250 to 280 vehicles an hour in peak periods and much less at lower times. About 35% of that traffic is local traffic coming from the precincts to the north and south of the site. So it's local traffic using a local road. As we've stated, With those increase in traffic flows, yes, there is an increase, but they will remain within the New South Wales Transport New South Wales guidelines for the environmental capacity of a local road. So it will still function as a local road. The potential for rat running is considered to be low, given that at the right turns into Targo Road, Rocky Point Road and Ramsgate Road from Targo Road will operate at limited capacity, as all side streets on major road intersections do. Furthermore, Woolworths have offered to provide traffic calming measures to further reduce potential impacts.
Excuse me, Mr. Rogers, we're just going to have a time, so could you wind up?
And
Thank you.
there'll be no heavy vehicles from the proposed development that would use Targo Road as the loading dock access is on Ramsgate Road. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes our speakers. The next item is confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. ENV 01725, confirmation of the minutes of Environment and Planning Committee meeting held on 12th of May 2025. Can I call for a move and second, please? Councillor Lansbury, Councillor Allison. Okay, if we move to a vote on that, please. All those in favour? Anyone against? I declare that motion carried. Thank you. The next item is ENV 01825, review of the draft bushfire prone land map 2025. And before we move to any discussion, Mr. Angie Zook, who's the Strategic Planner Information Management, is going to give us an overview. Mr. Zook.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, councillors, executive staff, and public members. This agenda item is to present the draft bushfire prone land map 2025, which has been prepared by the New South Wales Rural Fire Service. The bushfire map is required to be recertified every 5 years under the Act. The current map was certified 5 years ago in 2020 and is set to expire in August this year. Council is required to review and request a certification of the 2025 map to ensure the statutory compliance. In general, the draft map 2025 proposed changes in the following areas. Number one is the heights, which has a new category 2 area due to dense vegetation. Number two, First-view growth, which has expanded category 2 based on the rainforest evidence. Number three, the lower part of the Oakley Memorial Garden, which has been newly mapped as category 1. However, the IFS has indicated its willingness to remove this strip, given it's a road corridor where the risk can be managed. Number four, Cass Bush Park, which has been newly included as category 1. However, council officers don't support this inclusion for the following reasons. A, it is inconsistent with the Bushfire Management Committee's residential risk mapping. B, this area includes open space and active vegetation management. C, council has the capacity to respond effectively to any fire events in this location. As such, we are seeking its removal from the draft map. Notably, vegetation buffer area, which are 100 meters for category 1 and 30 meters for category 2, are not yet displayed in the draft map for the new areas, but they will be added before finalization. In summary, we recommend that council first note the draft 2025 map. Second, request the removal of Cass Bush Park and the lower part of the Oakley Memorial Garden. Last but not least, formally request certification from the IFS once the map has been amended. Thank you. That's for me.
Thanks, Mr. Zook. Can I call for a mover and second on that item, please? Councillor Jamieson, Councillor Arthur. Thank you. Okay, is there any discussion or questions from the councillors, please? Councillor Lansbury.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Specifically, my concern relates to removing Carlsbush Park from this particular land map. My reading of the report was that the RFS recommended it be included. It does back onto homes. I'm old enough to remember what happened in Como a few years ago, and just when I read this report, it concerned me. If it was recommended by the RFS, I'm concerned that we as a council would be thinking of removing it, and is it an impost on council to retain it? Is it obviously it would require extra maintenance and things like that, but to me it would be maintenance well regarded. So yeah, if you could just talk to that, please.
Mr. Zhu.
Yes, through Mr. Chair. As it's gone through the internal process within council, we reviewed this issue, and also we like the Carlsbush Park it's properly maintained by the Bush Care team and also the NI team, and also the reason why is it's an open space next to the residents, and also we have a management plan for this area, so the risk is low as we consider. So that's why we recommend its removal.
I'm very interested in the views of the other councillors to see how they feel about it. It does just concern me if the RFS did recommend it. Is it a problem for us just to retain it? Actually removing it, taking that step and removing it, just I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm convinced that it's the right way to go.
Any other councillors with a comment on that?
I guess my question is what implications is there to council of it being included versus being excluded? What are the implications to council?
To the director? Oh, Mrs. Zhu.
So, through the chair, we'd probably have to take the specifics of answering that question on notice. However, it will impact future proposals for development. It is probably the first thing that springs to mind. It's probably worth also adding, and this is stated in the report, that the RFS have offered for us to justify why it shouldn't be listed as a vegetation category 1 area. So that was put to us. We've done that internal work and received the advice that we think it shouldn't be listed, and so that's the justification we've provided, and the RFS will ultimately make a call on that. We can provide the more specific answers in terms of the implications on notice.
So the RFS left the door open for us to remove it if we felt that was necessary, as long as we could provide a justification, which we're doing.
Yes, that's correct. So paragraph 12D does say that if we believe this area should not be mapped as bushfire prone land, they require a clear and reasoned justification for its exclusion, and we think that's what's represented in the report.
I'm happy with the council officer recommendation on that basis.
Councillor Jamieson.
Yes, so just to be clear that if RFS think that it should be, they won't give us a certification anyway, so we're covered. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the councillors? In that case, I'll put it to a vote. And if we go around the room, please.
Madam Mayor.
For.
Mr. Chair.
For.
Councillor Allison.
For.
Councillor Arthur.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Lansbury. For. 6 votes for, unanimous.
Thank you. I declare that item carried. Next item is ENV 01925, planning proposal for gateway determination 193 to 199 Rocky Point Road, 66 to 68 Ramsgate Road, and 2 to 4 Togo Road, Ramsgate. And before we go to discussion, okay. Yeah, can I first ask for a move and second on that item, please? Councillor Ball and Councillor Lansbury. Okay, and before we move to any discussion, I'd like to ask Mr. Osti, coordinator strategic planning, to give us an overview. Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. I'll hand over to Ron Canty from Guide Consulting, who's been appointed by council as the independent assessment consultancy for this proposal, because council owns a very small portion of the overall development site that is proposed to be reclassified from community land to operational. So I'll hand over to Yvonne.
Hello, Mr. Chair. The planning proposal was originally submitted in December 2023 by the proponents seeking to rezone the land from Part R4 high density residential and Part E1 local centre to all E1 local centre. Also to increase the building height from Part 15 metres and Part 21 metres to Part 16 and 29 metres. And also increase the floor space ratio from Part 2.5 to 1 to Part 1.5 to 1 to all 2.7 to 1. Proposed FSR for the site was subsequently reduced to 2.64 to 1 in the revised planning proposal, which was submitted on 3rd of June 2024. The proposal is supported by a draft site-specific development control plan, and a public benefit offer was also submitted dated 19th of December 2023. The reference scheme submitted with the planning proposal shows development will result in approximately 140 new dwellings and additional retail services, including a full-line supermarket totaling 3,790 square metres of gross floor area. The proposal includes provision of 437 new parking spaces, including 192 retail spaces and 245 residential spaces, generating some 330, 660 and 540 vehicles per hour two-way in the weekday morning, afternoon and Saturday midday peak hours respectively. The proposed intensification of the site would therefore result in increased traffic generation and several traffic impacts necessitating road improvements and intersection upgrades to the surrounding road network. Since mid-2024, there have been multiple meetings with the proponent, Council and Transport for New South Wales to address several traffic and parking issues arising from the planning proposal. On 5th of December 2024, the local planning panel unanimously endorsed the forwarding of the planning proposal to the Department for Gateway determination, subject to certain recommendations, including that Council and Transport for New South Wales be satisfied regarding the unresolved traffic and transport issues. The proposal's traffic impacts raised by Transport for New South Wales and from Council's traffic engineers on 28th February 2025 and 11th March 2025 respectively, as well as Transport's and Council's most recent comments provided on the unresolved traffic matters at their meeting with the proponent on 15th of April 2025, confirmed that Council and Transport for New South Wales are not satisfied regarding the several unresolved or unsupported traffic issues. Therefore, the planning proposal is not considered to adequately address the LPP's recommendations. A summary of the remaining key unresolved or unsupported traffic issues raised by Transport for New South Wales and Council concern the following: unacceptable impact of the existing driveways on the eastern side of Rocky Point Road. These are within the Bayside Council LGA. The impact is to the functioning, related to the functioning of the proposed new signals at the intersection of Rocky Point Road and Targo Road. In order for the new proposed signals to operate safely and efficiently, the existing driveway at 272 Rocky Point Road is required to be a left in, left out, and the existing driveway at 262 and 270 Rocky Point Road is to be removed. Removal of this driveway is reliant on alternate vehicular access being provided for development on the eastern side of Rocky Point Road through the provision of a new service lane at the rear of these properties. It is noticed that there is planning agreement for 262 to 270 Rocky Point Road with Bayside Council executed in 2020 for the dedication of land to Bayside Council for that purpose, which is in accordance with Bayside Council's long-term strategy to remove existing driveways on Rocky Point Road through the provision of a new service lane. Transport for New South Wales and Council consider the timing and delivery of the future laneway too uncertain at this time, as it relies on other redevelopment and land dedication needing to occur on that eastern side of Rocky Point Road. Transport for New South Wales and Council have recommended these matters are resolved at the planning proposal stage and not at a future DA stage. There is also concern of negative impacts to local businesses along Rocky Point Road due to the loss of 12 on-street parking spaces along the western side of Rocky Point Road and 7 spaces on the eastern side of the road. These are to accommodate the loss of the on-street parking is to accommodate the proposed new traffic signals at Rocky Point Road and Targo Road. The proposals proposes to substitute these spaces with additional on-site basement parking. However, this alternative solution won't provide the same level of conveniences for businesses and customers visiting Rocky Point Road shops and businesses along that street. There is also concern regarding the amenity impacts to Targo Road due to potential increased traffic volumes generated by the proposal. Serious concerns have been raised regarding the SIDRA results indicating that additional 200 to 300 vehicles per hour in both directions will travel along Targo Road during peak hours as a result of the proposed signalisation at both ends of Targo Road. Targo Road is primarily a residential street, which currently carries approximately 50 vehicles per hour in peak hours. Council does not consider the proposed traffic calming measures by the proponent to be satisfactory in terms of mitigation measures to deter rat running through Targo Road, as it cannot effectively control the volumes passing through Targo Road and only passively manages speeding issues that may occur. Whilst the planning proposal meets the strategic merit test, the proposal is not considered to demonstrate site-specific merit in relation to traffic and parking. The traffic issues resulting from the planning proposal confirm that the proposal in its current form will result in potential adverse impacts to the surrounding local road network, which cannot be supported. It is therefore recommended that Council not support the proposed amendments to Georges River Local Planning Environmental Plan contained in the planning proposal on account of these unresolved traffic issues. It is recommended that the planning proposal does not proceed to gateway determination as the proposal has not demonstrated site-specific merit. Before I do conclude, I would like to note that our Guides independent assessment was submitted to Council on the 2nd of May 2025. The proponent has since submitted a rezoning review request on 26th of May 2025. An independent transport review of the planning proposal prepared by JMT Consulting dated 3rd of June 2025, as well as updated traffic and parking review by the proponent's traffic consultant with updated SIDRA modelling has also been submitted by the proponent. However, our assessment was finalised and this additional information provided the proponent has not been assessed because the assessment had already been finalised and has not been considered in our recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Candy. Do any of the councillors have any questions or comments? Mr. Jefferson.
I just have one question. I'm a bit confused because I've just had conflicting information. So it hasn't been resolved. The issues that according to council staff haven't been resolved. So there needs to be a process for that. We can't just sort of hear a few things and say, okay, that should go to Gateway.
To the Director.
Through Chair. Yes, that's correct. The provision of additional information hasn't been assessed, which makes it very difficult for councillors arguably to consider. The viewpoint of the applicant that things have been resolved, but the applicant was pretty open to say that it'd been submitted after the assessment report had been completed. So from here, the question for you, as you ask, is how do we then assess new information? That's essentially a new planning proposal. It's open to council to consider that as the first option, which is essentially a recommendation going through as is. Alternatively, council can be of a mind to defer this application, ask staff to dedicate more time into assessing it. That's available as well. And I'll point out, as Ms. Canton said, the assessment was done. The applicant and I think Superbarn made a representation after that time. They were treated the same. The additional information was not reassessed. We left it as is. So there's a couple of options available to council to as a way forward to assess new information, which would go back through an independent process.
Thanks, Mr. Hill. Do any other councillors have any questions or comments?
Yeah, yes, sorry, thank you. I appreciate that the new information has been presented today and over the weekend, which has just been acknowledged, but from my point of view, as has been highlighted, as that new information hasn't been reviewed or assessed by our staff or by Transport for New South Wales, it's very difficult for councillors to take it into consideration. We can really only make decisions based on the information that is assessed and presented to us in the report. I understand that this process has been going on for quite some time, so I presume the reasons for the site-specific merit not being granted has been provided to the proponent in time enough for those to be resolved and presented to council through the planning proposal process. So, you know, my view is that we should support the recommendation because that's the information that's presented before us. And if the proponent has new information, then they can, as the director said, submit it through a new planning proposal to council.
Any other questions or comments from councillors? Councillor Jamieson.
I have another one. We sort of get a few people that are coming to. Well, anyway, I guess we get experts or people that say that they're experts that provide information. We had it for the floods. We have it for all that, you know, I don't know this technical information. I guess what sort of position are we in to be able to discern that information? We just have to basically trust the council staff, because we're getting a lot of people saying, well, there's flood management, this one's not accurate, or these issues have been resolved. And I guess we don't want to be in an incorrect position and make decisions on information that we don't have or we're not technically able to make decisions on.
Director.
Through you, Chair. Look, Councillor, you're spot on. There are some differences between what you're talking about, the flooding and this direct planning proposal. The flooding one hasn't gone on public exhibition, hasn't gone back through council in terms of Beverly Hills, and the commitment to the community is to provide more information to help them understand flooding issues and get the experts there. Because you're right, there's competing viewpoints from different lenses, I get that. For this one, it's a little bit more targeted. As you can see in the report that's provided, this is the process that we have for assessing planning proposals. They get lodged. We provide correspondence around our issues. There's a response. We try and finalise that and put it through to the local planning panel, who ultimately agreed to move through to gateway determination. And it was issued, but it was issued conditionally. So again, we asked the applicant to address the traffic concerns to our satisfaction, and that's where we're at. We have to bring it to a close at some point, and that time period's significant enough. There's an applicant who's keen to develop. Staff not and the independent assessment is not in the way of development, it just doesn't fit at the moment based on the issues raised. There needs to be a line drawn, and I drew it very clearly in May or April, such that the council can and the community can get some transparency around what the considerations are. And yes, ultimately the applicant and the community are well within their rights to make representations after that report's been issued. That's the situation we're in. Unfortunately, I've given you a couple of options. Then consider the recommendation, a direction for council to reassess and come back, which is also timely. One thing I didn't mention is that the rezoning review, which is lodged and will go through, will be another period for challenging the traffic impacts, particularly. The importance of this report is a council position that enables council staff and our independent consultant to participate in that rezoning review on behalf of the council position.
Thanks, Mr. Hill. Any other questions from the councillors? Councillor Asprey.
Just a comment. Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm supporting the council officer recommendation for this item tonight. Basically, the impact on traffic is unacceptable. I think we heard some figures quoted by one of our speakers tonight of the intensification of traffic movements. I think it was Targo Road, and I think the figures were quoted, and I'm sorry if I've got them wrong, but I think it went from 70 or 80 movements an hour to about 240. Did I get that right? That's excessive. That's a suburban street, and it's intolerable for the amenity of those residents and the impact on the local road network. The proposal does have some merit, but I think it just needs to be scaled down. And we've been through several iterations of it over the years since Georges River's been around, and this latest one has probably come closer, but I still think the traffic impact is just unacceptable. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, in that case, I'll put the motion. If you go in the room, please, Ms. McKinley.
Madam Mayor,
For.
Mr Chair,
Full.
Councillor Allison,
For.
Councillor Arthur,
Against.
Councillor Jamieson,
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
5 votes for, 1 vote against.
Thank you. I declare that motion carried. The next item is ENV 02025, adoption of the Merriman Reserve Plan and Management and Master Plan. Can I call for move and second on that, please? Councillor Lansbury, Councillor Jamieson. And before we move to any discussion, Ms. Fawcett, who's our strategic plan, is going to give us an overview.
Thank you, Mr Chair. The draft plan management and master plan for Merriman Reserve were publicly exhibited from the 5th of February to the 21st of March 2025. A total of 17 submissions were received. Key issues raised including tree management issues, the function centre use and lease agreements, boom gates to the car park to be locked after hours, and the garbage disposal and loading dock area of the function centre causing significant noise and visual pollution. On the 4th of March 2025, the public hearing was independently chaired by Arnold Planners. Council is also to note there was no one from the public attended that meeting, and the public hearing report supports the alteration to the categorisation of Merriman Reserve. The exhibited draft master plan management and master plan were not amended following the public exhibition. In response to the submission made tonight, the master plan is a concept plan. Before any development proceeds, flooding will be considered. The building footprint on the site will not be increased as the new amenities maintenance building will replace the existing maintenance building. And a flood study for that area is currently being completed and will be publicly exhibited later in the year. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Fawcett. Do any councillors have any questions or comments? Councillor Jamieson.
Yeah, I did have a question, and specifically in regards to Brett Cornell's speech. I think that because it's just an understanding that he's saying that flood studies should be done, but because there's no increased population, it's not required according to council. Could you just explain that, please?
Flood study for that area is currently being, and it will go on public exhibition later in the.
And would that affect this reserve, the plan of management at all?
Well, nothing's really changing on the plan of management, on the master plan. Like the new building that he mentions is going to replace the existing building, like it's just further down on the foreshore. So there's not going to be huge amounts of extra development on the site. It's still going to be the same.
Through the chair, just to add to that a little bit further, most parks and reserves are flood affected. That's typically where parks and reserves are. They're in low-lying areas and they're often left over land that's not developable from many decades ago. Any development proposals, usually not DAs, work on public reserves done by a public authority like a council, requires different approval processes, but there needs to be consideration of flooding. But there's no significant built, I guess, physical structures being proposed through this master plan, nor the plan of management itself. So flooding is not a major consideration in that regard.
Thank you. Do any other councillors have any questions or comments? Councillor Lansbury.
Just a quick comment, Mr Chair. I support this recommendation. This plan management master plan has been kicking around for a little while, and I think most of the submissions seem to rest on operational concerns, things to do with the function centre, which has always been of concern to the neighbouring residents, and some of the garbage area at the back has been an ongoing problem for the neighbouring residents too. So I see within the table that that's actually gone to the compliance team to be dealt with, but it seems like most of the objections, apart from the trees, and some people don't want trees planted to block their views, I get that, but predominantly the issues that were raised in the submissions were all operational and able to be managed. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Do any other councillors have any questions or comments? Okay, thanks. In that case, I'll put the motion.
Madam Mayor,
Full.
Mr Chair,
For.
Councillor Allison.
For.
Councillor Arthur.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
6 votes for, unanimous.
Thank you. I declare that carried. The last item is ENV 02125 Development and Building Q3 Metrics Report. Can I call for move and second on that, please? Councillor Jamieson, Councillor Allison. Thank you. And before we go to any discussion, Ms. Love, our manager, Development Building, is going to give us an overview. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Good evening, councillors. The report provides an overview of the development and building team services metrics for Q3 of the 24-25 financial year. There's information in here about our action plan. There's also attached to the back of the report some key figures that come out of the report. During the quarter, 75 applications were lodged and we determined 91 applications, which represents an increase of 50% in both categories of DAs and mods since January determined. Of all the applications determined, 76% of those were for approval. Our average determination days for all applications is at 198 days, and the league table that you've all been made aware of publishes just data for DAs only, so that shows an average days of 229. So there's quite a discrepancy between when you consider all of our applications determined in a quarter as opposed to just DAs only. The Minister's statement of expectations around determinations being completed within an average of 115 days. 21% of our determinations in this quarter met that time frame. With our focus most recently since the inception of the action plan has been determining the applications that are 180 days or older. So providing customer service to those older applicants, clearing those DAs off the books. So that is a direct correlation with that 115 average day not dropping during the quarter, and we don't expect that to drop in Q4 either, as we continue to work through those 180-day applications. We met last week with the department and the appointed expert planner from Planning Ingenuity. We basically just went through the action plan, gave a bit more detail about who was doing what progress we've made on those initiatives, and we're just waiting for them to make contact next to further discuss how they'd like to work on the action plan. They gave an indication that it would just sort of be providing a bit more detail within each of those initiatives. So we're just waiting for that that next meeting to occur to get into it with them.
Thanks, Ms. Love. Do any councillors have any questions or comments? Councillor Jamieson.
Yeah, so just to clarify, like you've really focused on the 180 days plus. How many of them are there left?
Thank you. Through you, Mr Chair, we've got approximately 43 left on that list. So we've made great inways into reducing that list. As you can appreciate, each week new applications would come onto that list as they age, but the number overall is reducing.
So any new ones, so they sort of getting pushed back, or are you starting to meet? How are you working it? Is it just 180 ones first, or trying to get the newer ones down to 115 days?
Through you, Mr Chair, we're working on both. So we've introduced a fast track or low impact pathway that we can identify once an application is lodged. If we can get that out in 28 days or 40 days, we'll work on those ones concurrently with the 180-day list. So on that list, there's a bit more detail in the councillor information bulletin that was published today about where the status of those applications on the list. We could be waiting for the applicant to provide additional information. A few of them we're waiting on referrals from our technical staff in the DA team, and then a few of them are on upcoming panel meetings. So there's a range of reasons why they're on that list, but we're working on them as well as the new applications at the same time.
And so when do you think you'll finish all those grandfather, the 43? How long will that take?
Through you, Mr Chair, I think we were thinking perhaps we'd see some sort of movement by the end of September. So the age of a few of those DAs is quite high, so we won't see that movement in the 115-day average quickly, but we're aiming to reduce that, the number of applications sitting on that 180-day list.
Thanks, Ms. Love. Do any other councillors have any questions? Mayor Ball.
Yeah, just I wanted to just pick up on your comments about the league table that's publicly published, which indicates our average determination days of 229, but that only includes DAs and doesn't include modifications or reviews. Looking at the numbers that are submitted, about 1/3 of all the applications look to be the modifications and reviews. So when they're factored in, which should be, you know, 1/3 of the team's work, the numbers are only down to 198. Obviously, still a long way off, but heading in the right direction of going down. I just wanted to call that out, that's, you know, the staff should be acknowledged that there is obviously a whole bunch of work that's not included in what is being publicly reported. So hopefully that trend continues with the work in the action plan and the numbers continue to come down. Thank you.
Okay. Any other councillors with any questions or comments on the report? Okay, if that's the case, I'll put the motion.
Madam Mayor,
For.
Mr Chair,
For.
Councillor Allison,
For.
Councillor Arthur,
For.
Councillor Jamieson,
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
6 votes for, unanimous.
I declare that motion carried. There being no other business on the agenda, I declare this meeting closed at 7:57 p.m. Thanks, everybody.